Well, hello and welcome to the last episode of season number 4 of Open Studio. I'm your host, Martina Flor, and in this show I share strategies and tactics to build a career as a lettering artist or illustrator. And you may be surprised to see me in this new location today, and this is because I'm already in summer mode. I'm in Barcelona, Spain, where I will spend summer with my family. And today's show is a celebration of season number 4, the best of the best. So get ready to have a peek into the most beloved interviews and solo episodes that made this season really unforgettable. We had the honor of chatting with incredible artists and designers like Mary-Kate McDevitt, Ken Barber, Kevin Cantrell, Jessica Hirsch, and Sam Roberts. So not to mention also our solo episodes where I share with you strategies for creating momentum, portfolio building, and crafting a successful career as a lettering artist and illustrator. You mentioned that you got this creative block, or you experienced this creative block, which as I hear it, made you feel okay, or made you think about, okay, what are of all the things I want to continue doing, or do I want to continue down this road? So how did that look like for you, this creative block? And when did that happen? Like when did this creative block showed up or happen for you?
I feel like it's hard to pinpoint exactly when. And it was a confluence of a bunch of different reasons, personal and work related and all these different things. I would say in the 2018 year.
So 10 years into your freelance practice.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I think maybe even before that, I was sort of figuring some things out that I had to, say no to, and look out for me this time.
like what?
Like, not constantly making time for creating personal work on top of client works, going to bed at reasonable hours, and not working weekends even. And I mean, there was just a lot of things. I just got so into just saying yes to everything that it wore me out. And I think that is kind of when, there's more gaps in my Instagram posts, or like not on Twitter at all, or like maybe not even going to design events, even, I don't know, like just not making the time because I wasn't up for it. And it was even before I even really considered that it was creative block. I just thought, I mean, what your stupid brain tells you is just like, oh, well, it's probably because you suck. That's like, and not actually putting the word creative block on it.
Yeah.
And like, a hint of depression and everything. And it was, early or around 2018, I started going to therapy and started figuring out these things and being a little easier on myself, and because it's like, it's a thing that happens and so many people go through it. And it feels debilitating, and you're questioning, like, even if I'm not conscious or unconsciously saying no to things, it just means like, oh God, I can't even do that either. Or like, oh, no one even asked me to do this anymore. And I think I had just not given myself the space to think about these things from this angle that it's like outside of your control. And it just suddenly happened. And now having a healthier outlook on it.
How did you go about getting out of it? Because I mean, all the things that you're saying, I can relate to it. And I mean, I think we belong more or less to the same generation. And I think we pretty much grew up in like a hostel culture where, you need to work and you need, this culture of like the hard work and putting in the
Hustle.
hours and yeah, totally. And that definitely took a toll on many of us. I can totally resonate with that. And all the things that you're saying is things that I have experienced myself. And that can be, to the outside world, could be something that not everyone gets to see. And it's from other people's perspective that might seem like, okay, she's having a totally successful career and she's traveling here and there, but then at the same time you are miserable and worn out, right? Because you are trying to please everybody, clients, speaking engagements, social media, and suddenly you miss taking care of yourself, right? And I know this is also something that happens to many artists out there, and many of the people who are listening right now, I bet that they can also relate to this. That I often feel that one of the great things about our work is that we do work that we love, and we also turn something that used to be our hobby into our work, and then we miss like putting the boundaries to this, right? So suddenly work starts flooding all of your life, and you work on Sundays, you work on weekends, you work until midnight, and then it's you notice how that and I get this question often, which I was recording a solo episode for this podcast about this today, and I would love to have your input in that matter. When do you think one is ready to make a living with their skills? Because I get this question from a lot of students, and I know that many of our listeners are interested in this. I know that when you're starting with a certain craft, you are putting in a lot of work, and you start seeing progress. You see that your work is improving, considering that you are putting in the work and the time, and you are doing all of the things that you have shared with us, practicing, educating yourself, having someone to guide you, and having someone to give you feedback. But at some point, when you reach a certain level, you start wondering, hey, how can I turn this hobby or these 2 hours a day that I dedicate to getting better at this, how can I turn this into my full-time job? Or how can I turn these 2 hours into my entire day? Because I really enjoy doing this. How can I extend, or how can I maximize this, right? And this is where other artists are, or other artists or other people who are interested in a certain craft start wondering, okay, when am I ready to go from amateur to pro, right? So I want to ask you, when do you think that is a good moment for someone to start considering that? And what are the cues that they have to look for to say, like, okay, now I can do this?
That's a terrific question. And it's something I've been asked the same question. If I were to be completely honest and look at my own career as an example, I probably, in hindsight now, I have a certain number of years of experience, and I can see the improvement in my own practice as compared to what I did 25, 30 years ago. So I like to think it's a pretty big difference. Yeah. If I were to give myself that advice, it's very tempting for me to say, you didn't have any business starting professionally when you did. You just weren't good enough. But I'm measuring my past self from my current standard and from my current understanding and knowledge. But that probably would be bad advice for my past self. Because I think I have to admit, I've gone back and forth about this very question. And I think when I did gain a little bit more experience, and then I looked at my past work and I thought that it wasn't of a very high quality, and that I probably didn't have any business teaching or working professionally within lettering. There was a time when I thought that other people, perhaps like students, people who are newer to the profession, that they should take their time. They should resist sharing so much because maybe it's not of a high quality, and someone may be confused about that, or could kind of muddy the waters in terms of like, okay, well, what is good versus what is something that perhaps isn't quite to that level. But I think that's probably bad advice right now, because if I gave myself that advice, I would have never taken the opportunity to kind of flounder through this, my early experiences, and given myself those opportunities to genuinely improve in my practice. So, I mean, technically speaking, if you can make money doing what you do, you're a professional. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, when is it time for someone, to begin their career? In some ways you could say when someone's prepared to pay you.
Yeah.
But my advice would be to try to keep that in perspective, even though you may not have that perspective yet, because if you're just starting out, you lack that experience and that skill to really evaluate your work, I think, in a really effective or successful way. So it is time. Also, we mentioned mentors before, and people who are honest with us. I think it's a time to lean on them as well, especially if you have a connection, say, within the industry, who can say, yeah, you can absolutely do this. Or, you may want to consider this route, taking a little bit more time. Perhaps it's, if you have a day job, if you can kind of hustle on the side, get work, which really, honestly, I would look at as just an opportunity to practice. Being paid, extremely important. I don't want to gloss over that. But looking at those as opportunities to learn, to begin to build a portfolio, and then being open to those opportunities where maybe there is a time to take a leap, or taking a very, in some ways, a much more traditional approach to it, and going out there, applying for jobs. When I left school, one of the jobs I had was working at a firm that did a lot of sports branding. And I really wanted to do more illustration and lettering, and it was perfect for me, even though the subject matter wasn't dear to me. It wasn't something that I was really motivated to letter because of the subject matter, but it gave me an opportunity to illustrate and to letter. And the people, my employer at the time, trusted me enough to give me that opportunity. So another part of that equation is putting yourself out there, and looking for those opportunities. There are so many ways this network is kind of a sleazy word sometimes, because it sounds like, you're just out to make a connection just to benefit yourself, but like, make friends with people and reach out to people who are in that industry. And sometimes it's not always possible, for someone to mentor you personally, but that's an important, I think that's an important part of the equation as well.
Hey, welcome to the fascinating world of hand lettering, where letters transform into captivating stories. My latest PDF, Lettering DNA, is your guide to discovering the secrets of the alphabet and empowering you to create stunning words and phrases that amaze others. Crack the code of letter forms inside this easy to understand PDF. Download it for free on martinaflor.com/letteringdna. Embark on this journey and transform words into unique stories. With Lettering DNA, you will gain a fresh perspective on letter forms that will forever change the way you see them. Again, go to martinaflor.com/letteringdna to download it for free. Now, back to the show. I wonder if this, having this distinct style help your business and help you, stand out in the crowd when it comes to doing client outreach or getting clients.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, this is branding 101, is what makes you different, what makes you unique. because people ultimately will come to you for what you are known for, what is your unique specialty or your unique skill set that is different or above someone else. And so in a sense, that can be style for an illustrator. That can be a specific type of work you do that you have experience in. So for an agency, for example, maybe you specialize in sports, Nike. Maybe you specialize in beverage. Maybe you specialize in so I do high-end luxury typically. So I do a lot of luxurious packaging. I do a lot of hotel branding, and sometimes I do high-end restaurants too, like Tavern on the Green and a couple other restaurants I've done, like one at the Chateau Grand, for example. And so when you have expertise in a field, because you know the I guess you could say the competitive white space, and you have certain expertise in that, people will come to you because you know that field, and you know how to do it, and you know how to do it well because you've had success and you've demonstrated that. And so as an illustrator, if you have a style that people come to because it has a certain thing that fits, because I wear many hats. I like being in the trenches, so I never want to be too far removed from design. But sometimes I'm a creative director, and I'll art direct certain things. I know my limitations as an illustrator. I know what I can and what I can't do. And I try to usually pick projects that I can do within my skill set. But sometimes I need other people who can complement that. And so you'll go to someone for a unique ability that they have that complements yours. And as a creative agency or as a creative director, where you're more removed typically, and you're usually overseeing things, and you're the big idea person, that's not a hit at all. That's just people wear different hats and have different roles, and different agencies have to function that way, or they can't get all those big things done. And so you want to get the right talent who has specific skill sets that will complement and execute that vision that you have. And so as an illustrator, if you have something you're known for and you're really good at, like Jessica Hesh. Jessica Hesh is a terrific artist, right? She's extremely talented. I think I just saw her post about logo shoot for Fender yesterday. Really, really nicely done. And so people come to her because she's done tons of those revamps on logos. She's really good at that. She's really good at myriad styles, and she has experience, and she's successful. So they're going to go to her because she has an expertise in that. And so that's what you have to do, is you have to demonstrate that. And for me, it started with, and many artists will express something like this, where I had to demonstrate I could do that and create my own opportunity. And then once I did that, when people saw I could do that, then business opportunities came.
Experience. So I wanted to ask you, what are the great things about working with artists, and what are the aspects that you think made them unique, and the things that they should perhaps double down on that many artists fail to see, or they don't get to understand that they have this superpower, and perhaps they could really focus on or double down on.
I think the word awesome is used a lot. Awesome. It's come very much from America. This use of the word awesome, and if you actually look at what awesome means, it's inspiring awe. So that can either be through fear or amazement. At something incredible. And I think watching sign painters work, highly skilled sign painters work is truly awesome in that sense of, I look at it, and because I have tried it, I've taken all the workshops that I've ever run, and I took yours, and I've taken all of these workshops, and I think it's by doing it that you truly begin to appreciate how hard it is and how much practice it takes to reach even sort of an elementary level. And so then when you watch somebody who can come along and quickly scratch out a few lines to guide them, and then begin painting and create something that is amazing, it is truly awesome. And that that for me is what I strive to promote and to sort of share, and to make, again, it's banging the drum. I sometimes talk about myself as sort of championing the craft. I feel like part of my role is not just to support artists with work, and artists, a lot of them would not want to be called artists because they don't see themselves as that, but it's also to expose this trade and this craft to a wider audience, much like that film did. That film brought the craft into the eyes of the architects, the graphic designers, and the advertising agencies, where before they'd perhaps forgotten or were ignorant of the fact that this could happen. So yeah, I think just it's watching people work and seeing what they can create that most inspires me. And I have to say, within the sign painting, it's a small trade, but it's a fantastically supportive one. We talked a little bit earlier about these conference type events called letterheads, and those are run on a not-for-profit basis. There's no membership organization or committee or chairperson or any of this sort of stuff. Somebody puts their hand up and says, I'm having a get together. Could be 5 people, it could be 500 people, and the whole idea is that people come together, share the skills, and begin to pass that knowledge on from one generation to the next. And I think you see that manifest very much on Instagram, for example. It's a very, very supportive and collaborative community. People are always organizing, little group shows, small letterheads events. So I think that, seeing the work and the culture of the trade, I think, are two of the things that really inspire me. I can't remember what the next the next bit of the question was.
Yeah, I wonder what are the downsides now of working with artists, and let's reframe this. Where do you think artists have some room for improvement, or maybe things that they could do better, or they are overseeing?
I mean, that's a tough question.
I know.
No, but I think there is, in general, they tend to be better at and want to paint signs and design lettering, and that's what they want to spend their time doing. And that means that often, and this is not to say all sign painters are like this, but often they can neglect, things like communications, looking carefully at their, at things like pricing. I often find that the pricing can be lower than it possibly could be. And I always encourage people to charge more if and when they can. But what else? I mean, I suppose those would be the two things, and just sometimes I'd have it with Mike. He'd keep me waiting until the very, very last minute to deliver the thing that I needed to move on to the next step of whatever I was doing. And that, so it's being kept waiting can, for somebody like me that, is very, timings and process oriented. I'm very much like that. I like a checklist, a step by step, a deadline of when's this happening, how's this going to lead into that. I have that logical, process driven mindset, whereas lots of the sign painters are, scatty would be a rude way of saying it, but they're kind of, there's so much going on and they're easily distracted by the thing that's over here, and they can drop the ball occasionally. So I think sometimes they've appreciated working with me because I'm kind of prodding and saying, come on, we need this, and it doesn't feel like it's a client doing that to them. It's me doing it, and so those would be some things. But like I say, you can't generalize that all sign painters are like that. Some are very, very logical and process and methodical, and others are more kind of chaotic creative, let's say.
The internet. What would you say to those people to give them a hint of motivation to go ahead and just pursue their dreams or their goals?
Well, I think like this might feel a little bit of an intimidating bit of advice, but one of the things to remember is that there's a lot of people right now for you, right? When you first graduate, you're surrounded by like just a billion extremely motivated, extremely talented people. The amount of people that stay involved in the industry and in the conversation starts to dwindle as you get older. And so all that you have to do to be successful is just stay involved. Just don't drop off, like whatever you're doing, just keep doing it, because eventually, and there are so many people that I've made friends with in the industry that like, if I would have looked at their portfolio when we were at the same age, I'd be like, I guess their work's okay or whatever, but they've just like stayed involved.
Oh, yeah.
And figured out how to be a part of the community, figured out how to be a cool enough person facilitating shit, making sure that people feel lifted up, that now that we're 10 years out, they're a leader, and that just happens if you stay involved and you stay motivated in the community. And so don't feel intimidated, about diving in, because most people just won't keep the momentum to stay. And as long as you can just figure out how to keep creating, you will have success. I guarantee you, no matter what. I swear to God, every person that I know from college who was a fine artist, who was a painter, who kept doing their weird shit for 10 straight years, they're having shows at the Whitney now. It's crazy. All you have to do is persevere. You just stick with it and you will find success. There's no way that you won't. I'm just telling you. If you can stick around, you will be successful. And so for now, experiment, have fun, do things that drive you. Try doing stuff from within. Try not trying to catch up with what you see out in the world. If a new technology sounds interesting, try it. If you want to try your hand at coding or using Chat GPT to code things for you, whatever, try all the things. It's really important to just dip your toes in all the things to see what sticks. And when you're young, you're really capable of that. When you're fresh, you have growth mindset coming out every fucking pore. Whereas now I feel I have to do mushrooms to have growth mindset. I swear to God, it's I'm getting old and I just am so static. And every time that I need to be oh wow, I can learn a new thing, I have to take a flipping drug to do it or something. So I say use that growth mindset now, learn all the things. It gets harder to be excited about learning the older that you get. So just don't look at everything as an intimidating thing to do. Look at it as an opportunity, because now is the time where you're a sponge and you can do all those things. So just cherish it. I
love it.
That
and
was rambling.
You're also a great example of that. No, I think it's, bottom line is play the long game. It's not going to happen right away. You need to develop your skill. You need to develop your art. You need to find what you're great at. And that takes time, it takes years.
Well, also, I think Martina and I could both probably speak to this. When you have a career where you've kind of hockey sticked up to a really top level quickly, it's actually so much harder to stay on top of the mountain than it is to slowly climb the mountain. Yeah. And that's something to remember, is that it's not a race to the top, because the top is really hard to stay at. Once you hit the top, staying at the top is hard. Everybody wants to knock you off the top because they're looking for the next person to be on the top. And so don't try to get to the top. Try to climb. Try to climb slowly and steadily and improve and do great work or whatever, but do not try to race to be at the tippy top of your career in 6 months. It's unsustainable, it's not healthy, and it's really tough once you hit that moment to actually figure out how to stay up there or to figure out how to grow from that. And so don't look at I haven't had my viral success moment as being a negative. That's a positive. It's really much better to have sort of a working your way up career in which you have moments of victory, but you're on a steady climb, rather than having this one massive thing that brings you all the way to the top and then you're just clawing your way to stay on there for the rest of your life.
Now, after today's show, we are taking a summer break, but don't worry, we will be back in September with more. So before I go, let me say thank you. Thank you for being there, listening to every episode. You are the sole reason why I'm here and why we do this. And if you have enjoyed this season, please take a moment to follow us and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your support really helps others discover us and keeps us motivated to bring you more amazing episodes. So mark your calendars now and catch up on any episodes you may have missed from season number 4. We are coming back in September with season number 5 of this podcast and more greatness for you. So have a great summer and see you soon. Bye-bye. So this is it. I hope you loved this episode. You can find me, the host of the show, on social networks at Martina Flor on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you have a question or comments, go to martinaflor.com/podcast, where you can see previous episodes, find show notes, and send voice memos with your comments and questions. You can also watch these episodes on YouTube. Just go to martinaflor.com/YouTube to find them. You can, of course, listen to all our episodes on your favorite podcast platform. If you loved this episode, subscribe to this podcast. And if you leave us a review, it will help others find us. Thank you all for listening, and see you in the next episode of Martina Flor's Open Studio. Bye-bye.